Hey, what is up guys, and welcome back to Predatory Exotics.
So today is another reptile room tour, giving you guys all the updates on what our reptile room is looking like at the current stage.
So we usually start off with my side, but today we're actually going to start off with Ollie. We're going to do all the jungle stuff first, and then we'll move on to all the arid stuff. There's been a few updates in the room, and now we've actually separated our reptile room tour from our bug room tour. So we're actually starting a brand new series, which is going to be called Bug Bonanza on a Tuesday, and the first episode of that is going to be the bug tour, all of our different bugs that we have in the house at the moment. So this is just going to be the reptiles, amphibians. So if you do see some bugs, we're not going to talk about them. We want to talk about that in the other video.
So let's get on and start with my side. So starting off at the bottom is our snow corn snake, which is coming along very nicely and is going to need a full update soon on an actual tank upgrade, because as you can see, he's getting so big. Look how big he's getting. He's just upgraded on what we're actually feeding him to a bigger one. He's now on 6-gram hoppers, and look how big compared to when we first got him, and especially the thickness as well. But he's doing great. Like I said, we will be upgrading him. He's getting so much better at handling from when we first started out. He doesn't mind being handled. He's out for, he can be out for a good 15-20 minutes before he even starts getting restless, but he'll just chill now. And now he's becoming a great ambassador for kids to hold as well. Go ahead and put you back. I know you're going to try and go up that side. Moving on up to the top, well, the mid layer, is our 3 Pac-Man Frogs. Now these ones, if you guys remember in the ones before, this is our original lime green Pac-Man, who is out most of the time, or pretty much all of the time, doesn't really fully bury himself. You can see the few holes that he's made around the enclosure. Plants are coming on nicely as well. But the 2 other ones, the strawberry one, which we have in the middle, sits out a lot more now, doesn't bury itself away, so you can actually view and see him, which is nice, because before they used to bury themselves away, which is quite normal with Pac-Man Frogs, especially if the soil isn't at this moist consistency that you want it. Right now the soil is perfect in all 3 of these. And then over to the left is our albino one, who I'm actually going to get out slightly because of how big he is getting. Look at this chunky boy. And once again, he doesn't bury himself either, which is great because it means they show off their full colours, which as you can see are coming along very nicely. But it means that you can actually see them, and so when people come around, they're not just like, why do you have an empty tank? And I have to explain that my frog has buried himself inside the soil. Coming along very nicely. The actual, I guess, ecosystem inside here is exactly how I want it, with moist substrate, all of the springtails and isopods doing well, and of course the plants growing nicely as well. Moving on up to the top one, you might catch a quick glimpse. Pip, our crested gecko, is out and about browsing before the lights go off, which is quite normal for him. He tends to do this. He'll come out about an hour or 2 before the lights come off and just start to wander around, but it's quite cool because he's normally flared up like he is now, so you see his colours quite nicely. Whereas Hugo is a sleepy boy. He will sleep until maybe even an hour after the lights go off, and he normally is hiding. Yeah, hey, here you go. Just gonna go ahead and pick you up, bud. I know, I've just woken you up. As you can see, he is not flared up because he has been fully asleep. But this is Hugo, our more ambassador type of crested gecko. One we definitely get out and allow people to hold, but he is definitely more of a sleeper, and he is normally sleeping until hours after the lights go off. He's going to crawl up me. If not, he'll sit on my head, and I'll let him go back to his home now. There you go, bud. And he'll probably just go and find another little place to hide and sleep inside. Oh, crushing the plant. But that is my side. Especially without the inverts, it becomes a lot smaller. But this is what all the amphibians and reptiles are doing on my side, plus Loki, who we'll show you at the end. We'll do him last along with Norris. as well, who is upstairs. But yeah, let's go ahead and move over to Tom's side.
So we're moving on to my racken now. Still in the process of decorating the racken. Last time you would have seen we've done all this to cover all the lighting and all the heating elements and stuff like that to make it a lot more cleaner and slick. It goes from sort of tank to tank nice and fluidly. But finish this big side panel now, big feature cactus on the side, hides the lighting and the side, makes the animals feel a bit more secure. There isn't that panel on the side that if people are sitting on the sofa and stuff, they feel more secure to come out when they want to. But we'll make a change. Usually we start at the bottom, but today we're going to start at the top. So we're going to skip out this enclosure because that will be in our bug one. But in here we have our baby Stenodactylus dwarf sand geckos. You can see one of the little ones just waking up now inside that cave. They've actually dug that cave out themselves. It's all excavator clay in there. So the excavator clay was around that big log and they actually dug out underneath it. So it's sort of near the hot spot, so they want somewhere to hide that's nice and warm, so they've done that. That's one of the sort of normal pattern ones. Hopefully I can find one of the orangey looking ones because they are super cool. There you go, that's the two orange ones in there. Oh, you've got the tiny baby as well, just in there. The two orange ones, really proud of them. It's from our orange male that we got. We luckily produced some before it passed away. You can see the tiny baby scampering up the side there. That's literally only about 3 weeks old. I'm not sure if that one's going to turn out as orange as the other ones, but these orange ones are going to join our adult colony, and then hopefully they will become breeders for us in the future, and we can start a line of high orange Stenodactylus, which would be really cool because there's no sort of morphs available. They're just sort of phenotypes, different colorations. So that'll be a really awesome addition to the reptile hobby if we can produce an orange one. So down onto the next level, this is our snake level that we have. They're all on lignocell, which allows burrowing. It's a really good substrate. And if we head over to the side, this is our western hognose. Pretty basic setup, loads of different hides, and he loves to burrow in that lignocell. He's a male, normal, but he's het for pink pastel. So he's got a really nice reddish sort of pink coloration. He is a little bit moody sometimes, so if I go in, don't know if you can hear him hissing, but he hisses when you get him out, but as soon as he's out, he's super friendly. Really awesome little hognose, and they're obviously called hognose for that upturned snout, which is a really hard rostral scale on their nose, and they'll use that to dig through the substrate, so they're perfectly adapted for living underneath the substrate. And don't know if it's picking up, but it is sort of got this pinkish hue that's really cool, and then that black and orange belly is super awesome that hognoses have. Really love this little hognose. It's a male, so it won't get that big, maybe 1.5 feet, but super awesome. Possibly looking for a female for this one, just so we can breed it in the future. Maybe an albino or a pastel pink, which is just a type of albino that has high pink. But that's a really awesome snake. And then moving on to the next one is our Nuevo Leon king snake. They're from an area in Mexico. They're also called the variable king snake because their pattern is so different. They can range from yellows and reds to like our one, which is a grey with red sort of striping, but the stripes aren't full stripes. They can range from stripes to spots. And she is a little bit flighty. She does like to pee sometimes. So we just have to be a little bit calm with her. But she's getting on with handling very nicely. You can see there she hasn't peed yet. But awesome coloration. I love the little bow tie on the neck. Has these orangey spots and stripes that would be bars in other individuals, but on here they're sort of broken up and they almost look like bow ties, and the bow tie on the neck is the coolest feature. Really love this snake. It is a lesser seen colubrid. Obviously you see a lot more of the other king snakes, but it's a smaller king snake species, so you're looking at 3 to 3.5 foot, whereas some of them can get over 4 foot. So it's a great king snake species, but as I said, you can see a little bit flighty when they're younger. But again, during the evening and the night, super active, will climb up all the spaces we provide. So an awesome snake. Really love that one and can't wait for it to get bigger. It's hard to find a pair, so we're going to look for a male in the future. But moving on, this one is a 60, so it's a bit longer, and this is for the biggest snake we currently keep. It's a Kenyan Sambar, and if you follow the channel, I'm really into my Sambars, and this is a nice chunky female. She's coming up sort of 2 foot long. They will get 3 foot, but a lot heavier bodied because it is a boa, unlike the colubrid snakes that we've seen so far. But she's super awesome. They usually sit under the substrate just with their nose and their eyes poking out. But this is a wild type, so all that orange on it is what they would naturally look like in the wild. You can get a higher orange locality called the Dodoma, which is specifically from an area in Tanzania. But the Kenyan Sambar is an awesome snake, super calm, and I'd recommend it as any first snake to anyone, especially with these smooth scales. And then towards the tail, you got keeled scales, which mean there's a ridge down each scale, so it's rough all the way down. It's a super awesome feature of Sambars, especially the Kenyan Sambar, and something that I think not a lot of people know, and it's really cool to handle. And as you can see, when I put her back in, she will literally burrow back into the substrate and hide away, find somewhere nice. You can see her under there shifting all the substrate as she moves. That's why the Lignocell is such a good substrate. It's so loose shifting. It encourages digging behaviour, enrichment, everything like that. So they can do everything. I love that substrate. We'll actually skip out a couple layers just so we can see the other Kenyan Sambar. And this one is a male. Currently keeping it on a heat mat in just a plastic rub. You can see his little head poking out. Can't be hungry because I only fed him sort of 3-4 days ago. But this one is a male Kenyan Sambar, but it's a different morph. This one is actually an albino Kenyan Sambar. So in albino, that means all of the melanism is gone, or the melanin. So that's all the dark pigment. So it keeps all of this orange pigment that is on a normal Kenyan Sambar, but all of where would be brown, because that's where the melanin is, goes this sort of grey colour. It's a super awesome trait, and this one is possibly het for anery. Forgot to say our adult is het for snow, which is albino and anery. So hopefully when this guy gets a little bit bigger, we'll pair it with our female, hopefully get some albino babies, and if we're lucky, this one is possibly het for anery, so we could get some aneries and even some snows. Awesome. Can't wait to get more morphs of Sambar in the future, but this little guy's got a little bit more growing. Probably not next year, maybe the year after we'll breed him. Depends on how quickly he grows, but an awesome little snake, and he loves his little setup. And since we put this enrichment items in, he can climb through the cholla wood and the hides and stuff. Really passionate about enriching our reptiles at the moment, so we want to add stuff that they can climb through. He's doing it right now. So reptiles are a lot more clever than people think, and they don't just deserve a basic setup. So we're trying to improve our setups all the time, and really get the best out of what we can. So next to this one is the adults of our Stenodactylus that you saw at the top. Here we have 3. I can see one here. And this one is one of our original babies that we produced. We kept this one out of all the ones that we produced because it's so dark. Not sure why it's so dark, but it really is. A lot of them are lighter coloured, and we have those orange ones. But this one's super dark. Even when I put it under the light, it is still really dark, almost like a increased melanism or something like that. But we're waiting. I think it's a female, so hopefully we can breed it back and see if that is like a genetic trait or if it's just a random anomaly. You never really know. But that one's getting super good with handling. Because it is captive bred, we've made sure it's used to being handled a lot. And then we also have 2 more in here. That is our male one. That is a little bit orange, but that's sort of a normal male coloration. He's fathered quite a lot of our ones. And then usually on the top we will have the female. I've tended to found females are lighter colours. So she's very light and she's got them dark splotches on the back. These are super underrated geckos. If you watch that one's actually sort of sees the mealworms and they'll wag their tail like that. It's a super cool sort of hunting behaviour. And these geckos have such big personalities for such a small gecko, and I'd really encourage people to get these or research them, because I've had so much enjoyment keeping this species and watching them grow and keeping them and breeding them. See, how can you not? It's such a cute little gecko, and so glad I found them. And I'd love to get some different species of Stenodactylus. But there's loads, but they're hard to find in the hobby. There's only sort of 2 or 3 that are seen a lot. And then if we move up, we might have to do a cut because these are our wedge-snouted skinks, which are a predominantly fossorial species, which means they live underneath the substrate. They were literally out 5 minutes before we started recording, but we'll have to do a little jump cut. I'll sort of forage through the substrate, get one out so we can show you how cool this species is. So I am sweating now, guys. You can see I've had to uproot the cage. They are very slippery. I had it about 3 times under the substrate, but they do slip out of your hands. So this is a wedge-snouted skink. You can see their tiny little front legs on the front that are basically vestigial at that point. Slightly bigger ones at the back. But you can see wedge-snouted skinks because they got that shovel nose that they use to bury in the substrate. They're a very slender skink. This is our adult female that produced the babies that we have in the past. And they're designed, they do actually climb a little bit on the raised basking spot that we have. But they're a super cool little skink, not seen that often. The babies we had were far more active. And you can see they are very slippery. And they can drop their tail, so you don't want to grab it, so I had to try and grab it through my fingers. But a super cute little skink with that dark streak running through their eye. Super cool. And you'll see as I put it back in, they will literally swim through the substrate. They're similar to the sandfish, which are another type of skink that swim through the sand. They're very similar to them. So they swim through the sand, finding all the mealworms. So we scatter the mealworms throughout the enclosure. That provides them good enrichment because it means they're always hunting for their food, and means they'll catch it whenever they can. But they're a super cool skink and something that I think is really underappreciated because we want to increase the diversity in the hobby. I'm really passionate about them. Ollie takes the mick because he thinks they look like worms. But I really like all the legless lizards and stuff like that. But that completes this section of the racking, so we'll move on to the other stuff we have around.
So the only reptile left upstairs in my room is of course Loki, our bearded dragon, who I know is being very grumpy right now because he is going to brumate soon. Definitely going to brumate. He's sleeping a lot more and not eating as much. And of course he's recently shed. I don't know if you can see some of the shed left on him. But he's doing well, other than just being moody and going into brumation. And of course he is still doing well. You know, bearded dragons don't tend to change all that much, especially because we got Loki when he was fully grown. So he doesn't really grow like you would see a baby bearded dragon grow. But of course he's loving his new tank, a lot more space, a lot more freedom. But yeah, no, he's doing fine. Doo-doo. Oh, you're just going to hold on to my clothes? There you go, bud. Oop. So he's got to go to bed soon, because of course this is one of our ones that isn't nocturnal, and he sleeps during the night, so his lights will go off in a minute.
So this is Norris, the Greek tortoise. This is his indoor setup that we built. It's a whole DIY setup we made. Literally built it from the ground up, sort of built it into the wall, decorated it all, built it, painted it with heavy duty outdoor paint so it'll last nice and long. He's very sleepy because it's getting into October now, but he can't really go outside. It's been wet the last couple of days. So he's been inside. He does get the roam of the kitchen just because he can get a little bit more exercise. But he's waking up now. He's a little bit tired. He has all his fresh veggies and stuff in there. But this is Norris, the Greek tortoise. Super cool. He's had a bath today, so he's nice and clean. And he's a really dark specimen. Not a lot of them have yellows and stuff like that, but he is super dark. Got a few bits of light coloration around the edge of each scoot, but for the most part really dark. Don't know where he's from because they have such a wide range, ranging from sort of Spain all the way along the Mediterranean coast into the Middle East, and then on the other side of the Mediterranean in Africa as well. And different sort of localities have different variation in shell colour and stuff like that. But this one is really cool. I don't know if we're going to ever be able to tell where he was from, but he's super healthy tortoise, going on sort of over 20 years old now as well. And he will start to sort of hibernate, brumate in the next couple months. He'll slow down, stop eating as much. But for now, he's still munching on his greens and everything like that. And he's the angry little tortoise that everyone knows on the channel.
So guys, that is the end of our reptile room tour. Now, of course, like we said at the beginning, all of our inverts and bugs are going to be going into a whole separate video on the channel for Bug Bonanza. So don't forget to check that out. Don't know if it's coming out next week or the week after. We're still planning our schedule, but you'll see all of our inverts in that one.
So I hope you have enjoyed seeing all of our reptiles and amphibians in our reptile room tour. As usual, we've got all the arid and the jungle and stuff like that, so make sure you pick your favourite one and leave it in the comments down below. Don't forget to like this video, leave that comment to show that love, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel, as well as going over to Instagram, because over there we've got daily updates on all the different animals in our collection. So if you happen to miss ones on a week-to-week basis, you can see them on daily updates on Instagram.
So we hope you guys have enjoyed, and without further ado, we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.